It wasn't until cutting-edge laser technology known as LiDAR or light detection and ranging became available that they were able to study the ruins in detail from above and discovered that what they thought was only a scattering of ancient stone hearts was actually a veritable city. Archaeologists discovered a lost city using laser technology. A new species of ancient human found deep in a cave system. Mythical creatures, giant millipedes, these are terrifying anomalies discovered in South Africa. Science warned you. The cradle of humankind. If you're at all interested in the evolution of humankind, the cradle of humankind just outside of Johannesburg is a must-see. The site is home to the largest known concentration of human ancestral remains in the entire world. One of the coolest areas is the caves where tons of proto and early human fossils have been found. There are lots of cave systems, but the Rising Star Cave system may be the most famous. It's where 15 skeletons of a previously unknown hominin species, Homo naledi, were discovered. There's also the Sterkfontein Cave system, which has given us more than a third of the world's early hominid fossils. Inkanyamba. Inkanyamba is a legendary creature from South Africa, described as a massive serpent with a horse-like head. This cryptid is said to measure over 20 feet long. It's believed to inhabit lakes and waterfalls, leading some to think it might actually be a giant eel rather than a snake. But the Inkanyamba is said to have supernatural powers and has control over powerful storms. For example, in 1998, a violent storm leveled thousands of homes, and some attributed it to this creature. Local lore says that Inkanyamba disappears during summer, transforming into a giant tornado to search for a mate. This seasonal absence has led locals to speculate that the creature is migratory, with sightings having been reported across different bodies of water. The creature got a lot of attention in 1996 when a local newspaper offered a reward for photographic proof, and a couple of photos were sent in, one of which you're looking at right now. This photo was taken by a restaurant owner named Bob Tini in 1995, who sent it to the paper a year later. Shangololo. Next up, we have the Shangololo. Now, while that does sound like some sort of mythological creature or cryptid, these things are very much real. Unfortunately, it's also called the giant African millipede. Just look at all those legs, all 256 of them. I thought the centipedes in my basement were bad enough, this is just a whole different level. These millipedes can grow up to a foot long and are covered in shiny segmented bodies that can come in various colors, from dark brown to bright orange. As creepy as they look, though, they are pretty harmless to humans, because you could just throw them on your face, apparently. Anyway, these things are mostly nocturnal and love to hide during the day under rocks, leaves, or logs, and at night they come out and feed on decaying plants. One interesting thing about the Shangololo is its defense mechanism. When threatened, it can curl up into a tight ball, a lot like a pill bug. Some species even give off a foul-smelling substance to deter predators. Homo naledi. Let's talk more about the discovery of Homo naledi that I mentioned earlier, because discovering an entirely new species of early human would have just been incredible. So, on September 13, 2013, cavers Rick Hunter and Stephen Tucker were exploring the Rising Star Cave system, where they found hominin fossils at the bottom of a chamber known as the Dinaledi Chamber. They then returned on September 24 to document the fossils and showed their photos to renowned paleoanthropologists Pedro Boshoff and Lee Berger. Berger quickly organized an excavation team that included Hunter and Tucker, dubbed the Underground Astronauts. The chamber itself was tough to access, it was far from the main entrance, very small, and it was a deep, steep drop. They had to actually get 6 kind of small women cavers to go into that space as they were the only ones who would be able to fit in there. In total, over 1,550 bone fragments belonging to at least 15 individuals were recovered, including 9 juveniles and 6 adults. The fossils included parts of the skull, jaw, ribs, limbs, and even inner ear bones, and this collection was the most extensive set of hominin fossils ever found in Africa at that time. In 2015, Berger and his team named the species Homo naledi, with naledi meaning star in the Sotho language, a nod to the cave's name. The most notable specimen, known as DH1, included a partial skull and jawbone. Later, in 2017, more fossils from 3 more individuals were discovered in another part of the cave called the Lesedi Chamber. Tokalash. South African folklore has a creature quite similar to a goblin. It's called a tokalash or tikalash, there are tons of different spellings and pronunciations, but they're mischievous and sometimes evil spirits able to make themselves invisible by drinking water or swallowing a stone. While it can be used in a light-hearted way to scare people, its more sinister powers include causing illness or even death to those targeted by it. In traditional beliefs, the Tokalash is often summoned by people with malicious intent who want to cause trouble for others. One of the ways to protect against the creature is to raise your bed off the ground. It's said that sleeping on a raised surface keeps one safe from the Tokalash's grasp. Spiritual figures like pastors and traditional healers are also called upon to banish the creature and provide protection. The origins of this creature can be traced back to Bantu folklore, created to explain why some people were mysteriously dying in their homes at night. Traditionally, people slept on the floor using grass mats around a wood fire for warmth. Unbeknownst to them, this setup could deplete oxygen and produce carbon monoxide, which is heavier than air and settles low, so people sleeping on the ground were vulnerable. Those who slept higher up, like on raised beds, often survived, leading to the belief that the Tokalash would strike people who were sleeping low down. Some tales describe the Tokalash as a short, hairy creature that can bite off the toes of unsuspecting sleepers. The Kwening Ruins. Archaeologists in South Africa discovered a lost city using laser technology. The Kwening Ruins are the remains of a pre-colonial Tswana capital in South Africa, just south of modern-day Johannesburg. This site was occupied from the 14th to 19th century, starting around the 1300s and reaching its peak in the 14th century. It was one of the largest settlements of the Tswana people, who spoke a Bantu language. Before the Europeans arrived, the Tswana people created large and well-organized settlements that really impressed early European visitors, who described them as cities and metropolises. The site began as scattered homesteads in the 15th century, growing into a city by the 18th century, but it was probably abandoned sometime in the 1820s as colonial expansion was happening. Because of how thick the vegetation is in the area, the Kwening ruins were hard to spot from the air until researchers started using advanced techniques like LiDAR, which uses lasers to map out the land. This technology revealed the layout of the ruins, including hundreds of households and a marketplace. The Klerksdorp spheres. What you're looking at here is what's called a Klerksdorp sphere. These strange spheres were first discovered in a small town in South Africa. Scientists date these spheres to around 3 billion years ago, claiming they are natural formations known as carbonate concretions. They range in size from half a cm to 10 centimeters or so, and a lot of them have these even grooves around them that make them look almost too perfect to be natural. So how did they form? Well, according to scientists, minerals developed in the gaps between sediments, similar to how crystals can sometimes take on very precise shapes. Over time, weathering wore down the surrounding rock, leaving these smooth rounded balls behind. But there are some who believe that there could be more to the story. Since their discovery in South African mines, there have been all sorts of theories, like they could be evidence of ancient aliens. One story goes that a man took one of these spheres to NASA, where it was tested, and allegedly, NASA concluded that this sphere could only have been created in zero gravity because of its perfect balance. Now, despite the lack of scientific evidence, some theorists have speculated that these spheres were created by intelligent beings 3 billion years ago. Others think that they might have been an ancient form of information technology used by some advanced civilizations long before humans existed. But again, the scientific community mostly agrees that the spheres are just natural formations. But what do you think? The cave painting. A story just came out this year about a really fascinating cave painting in South Africa. The horned serpent panel is this piece of rock art created by the San people of South Africa between 1821 and 1835. This panel features various animals, but one of them really stands out, a long-bodied creature with downward-turning tusks that doesn't match any known modern species in the area. Researcher Julien Benoit stated that as the San people are known to have included various aspects of their surroundings into art, including fossils, the tusked creature might have been inspired by an extinct species. In the Karoo Basin, where the rock art is located, fossils of an extinct tusked therapsid called Dicynodon have been discovered. This ancient creature went extinct about 251 million years ago, but its fossils could have served as an inspiration for this ancient artwork, which itself is about 200 years old. This painting may be the oldest record of an ancient fossil being recognized and integrated into culture. Archaeologists are continuing to study the meaning and significance of this artwork and its connection to the fossils found in the area.